Have you ever tried rotating your foot in a complete circle and noticed it won't go as far as it used to? It might seem like a small inconvenience, one of those little things we tend to shrug off as getting older. But what if that simple action could actually warn you about something bigger, like a heightened chance of muscle cramps in your legs? That's what we're going to explore right now. Think of it as a kind of detective work for your health, where your body gives you clues and you get to interpret them before any bigger issues arise. Because here's the truth. Some of the things we seniors dismiss as normal signs of aging might instead be preventable or manageable conditions if we pay closer attention. One of the biggest hurdles for those of us in our late 60s, 70s, and beyond is that we've heard a lifetime of conflicting advice. We might feel stuck between doing too little physical activity because we worry about pain, or pushing ourselves too hard in exercises that don't quite fit our current abilities. And when sudden leg cramps strike, especially in the middle of the night, it's easy to label them as another unavoidable part of aging. We end up relying on home remedies that may not address the deeper causes, or we simply cross our fingers and hope the problem disappears on its own. But here's why it matters to look into something as simple as a foot rotation test. It's not just about avoiding painful muscle cramps. When your lower body is flexible and strong, it leads to better balance, a steadier gait, and an overall sense of control in daily movements. This can mean more confidence in tackling everyday tasks like climbing stairs or stepping in and out of the bathtub. Those ordinary activities we sometimes take for granted until they become more difficult. So what will we uncover together? We'll examine some long-standing beliefs that many of us hold about leg cramps and muscle health, and then shed light on fresh, practical approaches you can try. We'll talk about how misconceptions around rest, hydration, and exercise routines can fuel the cycle of cramps. We'll discover how small daily habits might be making the problem worse, and what you can do about it. We'll also touch on the emotional side of things, the worry or embarrassment that might keep us from reaching out for help, and how to break through those barriers. By the end of our conversation, you'll have a whole toolbox of simple techniques for reducing the risk of leg cramps. Even more important, you'll have a fresh perspective on how to tune into your body signals without feeling anxious or helpless. You might not leave here with the strength of an Olympic athlete, but you will walk away with renewed hope that you can stay active, mobile, and in control of your well-being, no matter your age. Speaking of which, before we dive in, consider this. Have you ever found yourself wishing you had more flexibility and fewer aches? If so, take a moment to reflect on what even a slight improvement could mean for your day-to-day life. Let's find out how to get there. Let's begin with a perspective shift. Most of us have been led to believe that muscle cramps simply happen without warning, that they're like the weather. You might catch a forecast, but you can't do much about it. In reality, your body is constantly giving you early signs. When 72-year-old Regina tried a simple foot rotation test one evening, she realized she couldn't rotate her left foot in a full circle without feeling tightness. She had assumed this was a normal part of aging, but she soon discovered it was a clue that her leg muscles needed better care. One common misconception is that leg cramps come out of nowhere, perhaps triggered by random factors like a cold night or a weird sleeping position. While those elements can contribute, the deeper issue often starts with muscle imbalances and reduced flexibility. Over time, tight muscles in the calves and around the ankles can lead to sudden spasms. The foot rotation test is a quick way to see if those muscles might be so tense that even a gentle circular movement is difficult. The new perspective here is that your muscle function, especially in the lower legs, plays a major role in overall mobility, and that includes nighttime comfort. When muscles are chronically tight or weak, your nerves may become extra sensitive. That's why leg cramps love to strike in the dead of night. Your body's at rest, but those sensitive nerves react to even minor muscle tightness by triggering painful spasms. So what can you do? First, make it a habit to check in with your feet every day. Sit on a sturdy chair, rotate each foot slowly in a circle, first clockwise, then counterclockwise. Pay attention to any point in that rotation where you feel a pinch or a pull. When you notice a tight spot, pause and breathe. Then try gentle stretches. For example, while seated, extend one leg and point and flex your foot several times. This helps loosen the calf and ankle muscles in a safe, controlled way. As you explore this new habit, the physical benefit is obvious. You'll likely improve your ankle mobility and reduce the tension that contributes to cramps. But don't overlook the emotional boost that comes from feeling more control over your body. Regina, our 72-year-old example, was initially skeptical that such a small daily exercise could help, but she quickly realized that her nighttime cramps began to fade and her confidence grew. She no longer felt ambushed by leg pain in bed. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever noticed stiffness or tightness in your feet and ankles, especially when you first get out of bed? If yes, see if you can recall the last time you really spent time improving that area of your body. Sometimes awareness alone can lead to small but meaningful changes. And with that, let's dig into another angle many of us overlook when it comes to preventing muscle cramps. It's hard to think about muscle cramps without also thinking about hydration. Yet there's a widespread misconception that as long as we're drinking enough water, we're all set. Take 78-year-old Harold, for example. He never went anywhere without a big bottle of water in hand. He believed that simply sipping water throughout the day would keep his muscles happy. But Harold still found himself getting crippling calf cramps at night, leaving him awake and frustrated. The key misunderstanding is that water alone may not address the underlying need for balanced electrolytes, especially if you've been told to limit certain minerals because of other health concerns. Muscles need a proper balance of sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium to contract and relax smoothly. When this balance is off, due to diet, medications, or even the natural changes our bodies go through as we age, leg cramps can become far more common. Here's a new way of seeing it. Hydration isn't just about water intake, it's about overall nutrient balance. If Harold had known that his daily water routine was diluting some of his electrolytes without replenishing them, he might have adjusted his diet or asked his doctor if an electrolyte supplement was safe for him. He learned the hard way after multiple sleepless nights that sometimes we need a more strategic approach to hydration. If this sounds familiar, consider adding a bit more variety to your fluid intake. This doesn't mean ignoring water, of course. Water is still essential, but you could try a small glass of low-sugar electrolyte drink once a day, or incorporate mineral-rich foods like bananas, avocados, and leafy greens into your meals. Remember, it's always a good idea to check in with a healthcare professional if you have conditions like high blood pressure or kidney issues. You want to ensure you're adjusting your electrolyte intake safely. The physical result of balanced hydration is that your muscles are better prepared to contract and relax properly, so you're less prone to sudden cramps. Emotionally, there's a real sense of relief that comes from knowing something as simple as a bit more dietary variety or a small tweak to your beverage choices might help you avoid those sharp nighttime jolts. If you're sitting there thinking, I drink plenty of water so I must be fine, try a quick self-evaluation. Are there specific times of day, like mid-afternoon or just before bedtime, when your legs feel especially stiff or prone to cramping? Keep a little daily diary for a week. Track how much you drink, when you drink it, what you eat, and when cramps occur. You might be surprised at the patterns you uncover. Armed with that information, you can have a more productive conversation with your doctor about whether an electrolyte boost is something you might need. The conversation about leg cramps often includes the advice, take it easy on your legs, implying that too much movement could worsen cramps. But let's follow 74-year-old Dolores' story to see why that might be misleading. Dolores spent years avoiding any extra walking or leg exercises. Why? Because she believed that straining her leg muscles might trigger those dreaded late-night spasms. Yet her cramps persisted and her legs felt weaker over time. The misunderstanding here is that rest is a solution. While it's true that overworking tired muscles can cause cramping, underusing them can cause equal or greater damage in the long run. Your muscles thrive on activity, particularly gentle, consistent movement that encourages blood flow and flexibility. When we adopt a mindset of, my legs hurt so I'll just sit, we risk losing muscle mass and further compromising circulation. This creates a perfect storm for more frequent cramps, as weak muscles can spasm more easily. What if we flip the narrative and see movement as a friend rather than a foe? Dolores started by adding small amounts of chair-based exercises into her afternoon routine. She'd set a timer for every hour, stand up and do a minute of simple marches in place or gentle leg lifts while holding on to a countertop for support. At first, she was worried she'd trigger more cramps. Instead, she discovered that her legs felt more relaxed at night. Practical steps to try might include short walks, maybe just up and down the hallway if it's cold or rainy outside. Or you could do seated leg extensions, slowly straightening each leg and holding it for a few seconds. If you have a safe place to do so, light stretching of the calves and hamstrings before bed can be especially helpful. Some seniors also benefit from mild resistance exercises with stretchy bands, which can help rebuild lost muscle without stressing the joints. Emotionally, shifting your mindset from fear of movement to embracing it can be very empowering. Dolores used to dread nighttime, anticipating a spasm any moment. But as she noticed the change in her muscle tone and overall comfort, her mood improved. She became less anxious about bedtime because she felt she was actively doing something to prevent cramps rather than passively waiting to see what happened. Take a moment to reflect on how you view movement. Are you hesitant to do even mild leg exercises because you're worried about aggravating a cranky joint or triggering a cramp? If so, consider starting slow, really slow. Even a 2-minute walk around your living room could be a beneficial step. Keep notes on whether that gentle activity helps or hurts your muscles. Often, you'll find that controlled movement is a form of self-care that can keep cramps at bay. How about giving it a go and seeing if you notice any difference after a week or two? Many folks think the only way to deal with cramps is by taking a pill or by simply waiting them out until they vanish. Let's look at what happened with 80-year-old Frank. He hated the unpredictability of his nighttime cramps so much that he kept a jar of muscle-relaxing ointment by his bed. Whenever he felt a cramp coming on, he'd apply a liberal amount, hoping the sensation would go away quickly. Sometimes it helped, but other times, the relief was only partial and temporary. The misconception here is that targeted muscle care is something you do only when a cramp strikes, but waiting until the cramp happens misses the chance to prevent it in the first place. Picture your leg muscles like a garden. If you only water the plants after they're withered and brown, you're constantly catching up rather than nurturing healthy growth from the start. Similarly, muscles need ongoing care. Warm-ups, gentle stretches, and even a bit of massage after a day of walking or standing. One proactive approach is to adopt a simple daily muscle maintenance routine. For instance, before bedtime, you could rub a warm towel over your calves, ankles, and feet for a minute or two. This boosts circulation. Follow that with slow, mindful stretches where you pull your toes toward you while seated with your legs extended. Breathe deeply, and if you feel tension, pause, then ease in a little further. It's also helpful to pay attention to the posture of your legs during the day. If you sit for long periods, ensure your feet are flat on the ground and take breaks to move around. The emotional reward is feeling in control of your own comfort. Frank found that by doing these preventative steps, his reliance on muscle-relaxing ointments dropped significantly. He still kept them around. No harm in being prepared. But cramps became a rarity instead of a constant worry. That small shift made him feel calmer, more hopeful, and better equipped to manage his body's needs. If you're curious whether a daily routine of muscle maintenance might help you, think of a time you last gave your legs any form of consistent care. If it's been a while, or if your current routine only kicks in after you feel a twinge of pain, consider trying a new approach. Make it a habit. A few minutes in the morning or before bedtime could be all it takes to keep those leg muscles happy. Sometimes prevention is simpler and more rewarding than we realize. Now let's circle back to an often overlooked aspect: the psychological barriers that keep us from addressing muscle cramps thoroughly. It's easy to focus on physical solutions, stretches, hydration, exercises. But what about the emotional toll? Imagine Anna, who is 79. She's been dealing with leg cramps for years, yet she never brings it up with her doctor because she's afraid of sounding like a complainer. She doesn't want to be labeled as that patient who always has minor issues to discuss. This belief that cramps are just part of aging and not worth mentioning can prevent us from seeking effective strategies. Anna's story shows how emotional hurdles, pride, fear, embarrassment, can act like blinders, keeping us from exploring solutions that might drastically improve our daily comfort. In her case, she silently endured painful cramps that interrupted her social life because she was tired after losing sleep. It wasn't until her granddaughter overheard her yelp in the middle of the night that she realized she wasn't the only one affected by her discomfort. Reframing the emotional side can be liberating. Instead of viewing cramps as an unimportant annoyance, we can see them as a legitimate health concern that merits attention and action. Sometimes simply opening up about your experiences to a trusted friend, family member, or healthcare provider can yield valuable insights. You might learn about new options like gentle yoga classes designed specifically for seniors, or group stretching sessions at a local community center. Taking proactive steps to address the emotional barriers also has the benefit of strengthening your support network. When Anna finally spoke with her doctor, she discovered she had low magnesium levels. A simple blood test revealed it. She began taking a supplement under medical guidance, and within weeks noticed fewer cramps. The relief wasn't just physical, it was deeply emotional. She realized that voicing her concerns was not only okay, it was necessary. Do you ever feel self-conscious about bringing up physical discomforts to friends or family, thinking they'll brush you off or worry about you unnecessarily? If so, consider using a phrase like, "I'm trying a new self-care approach for my leg cramps. Have you heard of anything that might help?" It opens the conversation gently and signals that you're not just complaining, you're actively seeking solutions. You might be surprised at how eager people are to share their experiences or direct you to resources you haven't yet considered. Sometimes the best detective work happens when we gather multiple perspectives. Finally, let's zero in on how the foot rotation test isn't just a one-time activity, but an ongoing indicator of leg health. For 82-year-old Walter, it became a way to track his progress over months. At first, he could barely rotate his foot halfway without wincing. However, with steady stretching, some daily muscle maintenance, and a keen focus on balanced hydration, Walter started noticing he could get closer and closer to a full rotation. Every time he measured his range of motion, he felt a small sense of victory. One misconception Walter had was that progress would be linear, every day better than the last. But real-life improvement can come in waves. Some weeks you'll feel great, other times you might slip back. The foot rotation test acts like a friendly checkpoint to see where you stand. If you find that your range of motion suddenly declines, it might signal that you need to revisit your routines or talk with your doctor about new challenges. Seeing the test as a guide rather than an absolute pass-fail measure is the new mindset. Even if you can rotate your foot fully one day, that doesn't mean you're done forever. Our bodies change constantly, and factors like medication shifts, dietary changes, or even bouts of illness can affect muscle flexibility. By checking in regularly, you can spot potential trouble early and adapt accordingly. How can you implement this? Set a schedule. Maybe once a week during your morning routine, try the foot rotation test. Record how far you can go and how it feels. If you see steady improvement, fantastic, celebrate that. If you notice a plateau or regression, don't despair. Look back at your daily habits. Have you stopped your evening stretches? Are you skimping on electrolytes? Have you taken on new medications that might affect muscle function? It's much easier to make small course corrections when you have regular feedback. This process also offers a certain emotional comfort. You have a tangible way to gauge how your muscles are doing, rather than feeling blindsided by a late-night cramp. Walter told his family, "I'm in charge of my legs, not the other way around." And that new sense of control boosted his confidence in other areas of life too. He started volunteering at a local community garden because he felt better equipped to handle physical tasks without worrying about a sudden cramp. Before we wrap up, try thinking about how you could incorporate a weekly check-in. Could it fit into your existing schedule? Maybe right after brushing your teeth in the morning or while watching the evening news? Building a habit like this takes time, but once it's in place, you'll wonder how you ever manage without it. When you treat your body as a partner that you're learning more about every day, you're stepping into a proactive role that supports long-term health and well-being. We've covered a lot of ground, and hopefully you're feeling both informed and empowered. Think back on the different ideas we explored. The foot rotation test is a simple check for tight muscles, The importance of balanced hydration and nutrients, the value of gentle, consistent movement, the shift from reactive to preventive muscle care, the emotional aspect of sharing your experiences, and finally, how to use the foot rotation test as an ongoing measure of your leg health. With every point, we return to a central theme: curiosity. In place of seeing leg cramps as mysterious or inevitable, we're reframing them as signals that our bodies are trying to send us. By being a detective, observing, experimenting, adjusting, we can uncover the small daily changes that lead to meaningful improvements. This isn't about promising a life free of every ache or pain. It's about showing what's possible when we pay attention and act on the clues we find. Here's why there's some urgency in addressing these issues. Leg cramps might start as an occasional nuisance, but can escalate into something that disrupts your sleep, drains your energy, and even affects your balance and mobility during the day. And when your mobility and confidence take a hit, it can ripple through other parts of your life: social activities, mental health, and the ability to manage daily tasks independently. By taking action now, whether that's trying new stretches, reevaluating your hydration, or having a frank talk with your doctor, you could prevent bigger challenges down the road. Think about what your life could look like if you didn't have to tiptoe around the possibility of a painful spasm in the middle of the night. Picture yourself walking with more ease, confidently bending to pick up something from the floor, or simply enjoying a good night's rest without that nagging worry. These might sound like small victories, but they add up to a significant boost in your overall quality of life. If you're ready to take the next step, there are a few ways you can lean in. You could begin by performing the foot rotation test each morning for the next week and jot down any changes you feel. Or maybe your first step is planning a conversation with a friend or spouse about trying a new evening stretch routine. For those of you who like to dive deeper, you might reach out to a local senior fitness class or speak with a physical therapist about personalized exercises. And of course, if you have concerns that go beyond simple cramps, like persistent pain or swelling, make an appointment with a healthcare professional to rule out any underlying conditions. By making these choices, you're affirming that you have both the right and the ability to steer your health journey. You've lived a life rich in experiences, and you carry a depth of wisdom that's invaluable. These strategies aren't about imposing a strict regimen. They're about giving you options that fit your lifestyle and physical needs. The ultimate goal? Fewer cramps, more restful nights, and greater ease in the everyday movements that keep life joyful and fulfilling. So here's to your curiosity, your willingness to adapt, and your determination to keep moving forward. Every day is an opportunity to learn something new about your body and find ways to support it. You're not just reacting to age-related changes. You're taking charge in a thoughtful, informed way. And that's a powerful place to be.